My business associate Pablito Vasquez and I, we started a company in '99 with Julio G called Hitalick. We had our offices on Alvarado and 12th and Alvarado. And I just got tired of driving downtown. But, Pablito and I have a company called Street Life, and we're representing now Calle Trece, we represent Cultura Profetica, we represent Dread Marai, and I think that these three acts, along with some others, are going to be the big acts of the future. And as far as demographics go, the Latino demographic is the demographic of today. I mean, it gets bigger every day. I mean, Compton, I think, is 75% Latino now. So, I mean, from here to Chicago, we're talking about a huge Mexican population. Of course, from Chicago to Miami, it's more diversified because you got Puerto Ricans and you got Haitians and you got Cubans, and it's a lot different. But we just did a tour with Cultura Profetica, who are a Puerto Rican sort of reggae group, not Jamaican reggae, but sort of reggae, and they sold out almost every date, and we got 3 dates sold out in New York. Of course, New York has a big Puerto Rican population. Calle Trece have 22 Grammys, and they're up for 12 more this year. And they came here and did a couple of dates not too long ago, and sold them out to the roof. And Dread Marai, who's Argentinian, played at Los Globos a couple of weeks ago, and the place was just packed. And then they sold out Anaheim also. So I think that the future is for me anyhow, is Latino hip hop. We put out a couple of big records when we were at Ruthless. We had La Raza with Frost, who I see just opened a barbecue restaurant on Alvarado, and Mentirosa with Mellow Man Ace, which are two of the biggest records of the entire Latino movement of the 80s and 90s. So that's what I'm focusing on now. I'm also doing some television shows, and I teach college. I teach at UCLA, I teach at USC, I teach at Cal Lutheran. I'm just doing stuff that I enjoy now, and I'm really into this Latino movement. I'm into teaching. I'm into doing things that I enjoy. I love television. I'm going to have a show on the air in the fall, a big cable show, and so those are the kinds of things that I'm doing now.
Mr. Heller, one thing that we didn't touch on, and I would really like to touch on, since you mentioned Ruthless, is the memoir that was written back in '06.
Right.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that book, please?
Well, one day I walked into Barnes & Noble. See, I come from a different generation than you guys do, okay? So I'm a reader. I read a lot. I came from the generation before texting and computers, and I can still divide and multiply in my head, and I can still remember my phone number when I was 2 years old. So, I come from a different generation. So, what was your original question now?
I said if you could please elaborate on your book, The Ruthless Memoir.
So I walked in there, on the front table I saw a book called Can't Stop, Won't Stop the Music by a guy that I consider the foremost hip-hop historian in history. His name is Jeff Chang. So he wrote this 800-page book. It was on the front table. I said, well, I've never seen a music book on the front table at Barnes & Noble before. I said, maybe now it's time for me to write a book and clean up my own the misconceptions about me, and establish Eazy-E's legacy. Because, look, Biggie and Tupac were getting really all of the credit. Eazy, to me, was the most important person in the history of rap music. So I started thinking about it. I made a deal with a major publisher in New York, and I put out my book, my memoirs, called Ruthless. And on the back of the book, I listed a number of quotes from people, from Irving Azoff, who's the most important person in the history of the music business. Dennis Hopper, Ice-T, will.i.am, who was signed to Ruthless. We signed him when he was 16 years old. So if they said good things, I put it on there. If they said bad things, I put it on there. I said, if people are going to believe what you have to say, you got to put everything on there. So I asked Ice-T to put something on there, and he said, I met Jerry Heller once and didn't trust him. Okay, if that's the way he felt, I put that on the back of the book, most of the people said, good things. will.i.am said I taught him everything he knows, and Irving Azoff said I was a fearless leader. But I did put that book out. I did a speaking tour behind it. And I think that book is probably the best book that I've ever read about the music business. And I say that with all humility. It's really good, and it's a good, fast read. And when I did my speaking tour, I did the Ms. Jones show, I did the Wendy Williams show, I did the Dr. Dre Ed Lover show. I did, I did all the big shows all over the country, and it was very, very well received. And I still promote that book, and it's still, people read it all the time and make comments on it, and I probably get 200 comments a day on Facebook. And the one thing I decided was that I would answer every single person that ever wrote me, first on MySpace and then on Facebook. And that's how I met Stryker, who's the drive time jock at K-Rock. But to this day, I answer every question that anyone asks me, whether they're polite or rude or whatever. I answer them. And if people want me to listen to something, if they've spent enough time and effort to do it, they'll say, will you listen to my album and this and that? I'll say, just pick out the best song and send it to me, and I'll listen to it. And I try to encourage as many people as I can. And speaking of Irving Azoff, who, as you know, is the chairman of the board of Live Nation, owned Ticketmaster, has managed the Eagles since 1973. In 1970, a young guy wrote me a letter from college. He was a freshman at the University of Illinois, told me he wanted to be in the music business and could he come and meet with me. So this kid flew out and met with me, and I hired him, and that was Irving Azoff. So obviously we're best friends to this day. We probably talk 25 times a day, and he is the single most important person in the history of the music business. I mean, the guy owned Ticketmaster, Live Nation, Azoff Music Management. I mean, he's a very, very important, incredibly bright guy.